Hello and welcome to the Daily Climate Show. Coming up, boiler ban. Germany outlaws the installation of oil and gas heating systems from next year. A war on AstroTurf, the call for eco-friendly gardeners to receive a council tax cut. And despite aiming for the largest climate protest ever held in the UK this weekend, Extinction Rebellion pledges to spare the London Marathon. Hello and welcome to the Daily Climate Show, where we track the changes to our world and investigate some of the potential solutions to the climate crisis. Now, we begin today's show in Germany, where the government is to ban new oil and gas heating systems from the beginning of next year in a move driven by the Green Party, which is part of the ruling coalition. Now, currently, around half of all German homes are heated by natural gas and a quarter by oil. But a bill just approved by Parliament will mean that all heating systems installed from January the 1st must be at least 65% based on renewable energy. Now, the government in Germany will cover 30% of the price of installing new systems. This is amid criticism from opposition parties over the cost. And a further 10% bonus will be offered to those who switch before next year's deadline. Well, let's speak to our Europe correspondent, Adam Parson. This is a big win for the environmental world, but there is criticism, Adam, of this scheme.
Yeah, criticism from a broad spectrum, actually, because opposition parties have said that it is going to cost people a lot of money. That's clearly true, and that it is going to put a big burden on those who can't really afford to pay it. And I have to say that opinion polls suggest that the public didn't want this. Suggestions that opposition runs as high as 78%. But it is coming. And the German government says that it wants to be running carbon neutrality. It wants to be hitting carbon zero by 2045, and says this is one of the main things it has to do, effectively saying, yes, there's going to be pain, but we are going to have to make difficult decisions as we go forward. So what does this mean? It means that from the 1st of January, if you replace your heating system in your apartment, whether it's new or old, you have to put in place a system that is at least 65% based on renewable energy. In other words, that could be solar panels or heat pumps or a hydrogen boiler. Now, that is a big deal in a country where half of the households are running on gas and another quarter running on heating oil. I have to say, heating oil on the continent of Europe, I think, is quite a bit bigger of a presence than it is back in the United Kingdom. And yet, when you put together those fossil fuel emissions, they are enormous. Heating buildings is something like a third of Germany's emissions from fossil fuels. So this is a government, and as you said, with the Greens as part of a three-way coalition, which is taking this step and saying to people that we'll cover 30% of the cost. In fact, you get a 10% bonus if you do it before the end of this year. Now, they're estimating it's going to cost them something like 10 billion euros a year up to 2028. They say there will be concessions for people on low income or for older people, and yet going forward, ultimately, it will be mandatory to have heating systems that run entirely on renewable energy. Now, the opposition have said you are going too far, too fast. I think the government have come up with this compromise. It was opposed, certainly, by some in the very pro-business liberal groups. Olaf Scholz, the German Chancellor, is having to do a lot to hold together his coalition. Power has been right at the forefront recently because he's phasing out nuclear energy as well, another long and rather contentious energy policy behind the German government. But the bottom line is that here we have the biggest, wealthiest country in the EU taking a very bold step. I suspect that there will be other nations across the European Union, other environmental pressure groups looking at this and saying, if Germany can do it, why can't you?
OK, Adam, thank you. That's our Europe correspondent there, Adam Parsons. Well, let's take a look at some of the day's other climate news now. And a new EU report has found that Europe is warming at an alarming rate, with temperatures rising at twice the global average. Now, last summer's heatwave was the hottest on record for the continent, and it led to the death of more than 20,000 people. And researchers say more drought is on the way this summer, and only an acceleration of human efforts to cut carbon emissions can reverse the trend. Now, schools in 2 regions of India have been ordered to close for a week after temperatures of more than 5 degrees above the normal average for this time of year. West Bengal recorded temperatures of 41 degrees Celsius last week, and scientists say that it could be linked to climate change. Well, the heat waves are expected to continue across the next couple of months, putting over 1 billion people at risk. New research has found Greenland and Antarctic ice sheets are melting more than 3 times the rate they were 30 years ago. Using 50 different satellite estimates, researchers concluded that Greenland's melt has gone into hyperdrive in the last few years, and scientists attribute the speeded up ice sheet loss to human-caused climate change. Eco-friendly gardeners could be given a cut in their council tax. That's according to scientists at the University of Sheffield. New research shows that cities have lost more than 50% of their green garden space in the past 20 years, with paving and plastic grass being identified as key culprits. Now, the researchers suggest financial incentives could be given to gardeners who keep their gardens well stocked with plants. Analysis by NatWest of its balance sheet has found that farmers are responsible for 19% of carbon emissions, despite only receiving 2% of loans. Speaking in a short film made with the WWF, RSPB and National Trust, bank boss Alison Rose pledged to work with the 40,000 farmers supported by the bank to cut their environmental impact. Now, it's already calling it the big one, and Extinction Rebellion says it's aiming to create the largest climate protest ever seen in the UK, with 4 days of demonstrations beginning tomorrow. It's also a big sporting weekend ahead of the capital, with both FA Cup semi-finals and the London Marathon taking place. Now, policing all 26 miles of the marathon route is no easy job, but the race director says Extinction Rebellion has offered unique reassurances that it won't seek to disrupt the event. At a news conference this afternoon, the British runner Emil Caress explained why he thought protesters shouldn't interfere with the race.
The London Marathon raises so much money for charity and good causes. Although I think the environment is obviously another good cause, I don't think they should put themselves in front of other good causes, and just sort of respect the people raising money for charity this weekend. And then I'm sure the people raising money for charity this weekend will respect the environmental cause at a different time.
Well, our sports correspondent Rob Harris has more.
The organisers of the London Marathon say they've had assurances from Extinction Rebellion that Sunday's race will not be disrupted by any protests. They've in fact said they will help to guard the route of the 26-mile race through the capital to ensure there are no disruptions by any protesters, at least from their group. But less than a mile from the finish, around here at Buckingham Palace, there are expected to be environmental protests through the weekend around Parliament Square. It's been called the big one. It will present an extra challenge for police as they try to ensure the safety and security around this huge marathon event, as well as those protests. And it has been a week when we've seen a new spotlight put on how sporting events can be used by activists to draw attention to their cause. It was last Saturday that the Grand National was delayed at the start when the animal rights activists tried to get onto the course at Aintree, leading to that delayed start. Then on Monday at the World Snooker Championships in Sheffield, Just Stop Oil protesters got into the centre of the room at the Crucible, and one of them got onto the green table and managed to put an orange powder paint onto the surface, preventing the night's snooker action continuing. But the organiser of the London Marathon will be hoping that the assurances that they've received from Extinction Rebellion, at least, means that there will be no disruption to Sunday's race.
And just a reminder that the Climate Show with Tom Heap, well, it's back this weekend. And this week, it's a special programme on the age of climate activism. You can watch it on Saturday and Sunday at 3 o'clock and 7:30 in the evening. Well, thanks for watching. That's all from us today. But do join us again on the Daily Climate Show, same time tomorrow, 3:30. Bye for now.